गीता और भागवत के खोल दिए सब द्वार, आई वस्तु अखंड देखे धनी निराधार। आया जो सब हस्त का रही न कछु शुद्ध, लौकिक दृष्टि उतर गई आई जागृत बुद्ध, आई जागृत बुद्ध। आया जो सब हस्त का, बोले श्री धाम के धनी की जय। On yesterday's session, we talked about the awakening of Laldasi, awakening of Bhairav Seth, awakening of Lakshmar Seth. My apologies. And how that happened, we talked about that yesterday, and it rarely took about 4 ghadi, which is an hour and a half. So Mahamati Prananath talks about Braja and Ras, and to make it clear, he gives the reference of says Markandeya and how he realizes the power of Maya. And as Mahamati Prananath awakens Lakshmar Seth, or Laldasi to be precise, the author of this Beetak, then as Mahamati says, Gita aur Bhagavat ke khola diye savadwara ai vastu akhanda dekhe dhani niradhar. As Mahamati Prananath revealed the deep underlying messages of the holy book of Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavad Mahapuran, the door to the eternal opened for Laldasi, and he realized, I vastu akhanda dekhe dhani niradhar. So he realized the soul, realized the glory of his soul residing in the eternal abode of Paramdham, and he saw, he had the glimpse of the Lord Supreme, dekhe dhani niradhar. आया जो सब वस्तु का रही न कछ शुद्ध, लौकिक दृष्टि उत्तर गई आई जागृत बुद्ध. And he realized the awakened consciousness within him. And it so happened in Tatanagar that a number of people were awakened, number of people were initiated into Sri Krishna Pranami faith, and Laldasi gave the reference of those Sundarsas that were awakened. Khattu Mattu Khatri Aya Chatura or Mangal Aya Hui Kushali Kubatara or Bhagat Samala Kumarji or Govardhan. So he gives the name of few Sundarsas that were awakened in Tatanagar. Is the glory of Mahamati Prananath's discourse spread across the town of Tatanagar, the port city of Tatanagar, then there would always be people who would be against a new faith and a new teaching and a new sin coming into town and influencing people of that town. There were already so many saints and sages in that town, and they were against Mahamati Prananath's teachings and revelations because they feared that if he could allow to be staying there in Tatanagar, then he would take away all their followers. So ita charcha ke maraka bada jo padiya aaye, Ballavi marga ke loga ladne ko uthadaye. So there were the followers of Ballavachari traditions, one of the Vaishnava traditions, that they were against Mahamati Prananath and his teachings, and they were ready to chase him away from the town. But Mahamati Prananath is there to awaken few Sundarsaji, and he is ready to head out to Muscat Bandar to release Baiji Maharani, Tejkumari, and few other Sundarsats and the kids from the hostage of the Arabian backwoods. So he is ready to leave for Muscat and Abbasi Bandar. So अब आए पहुंचे मस्कत में, उतरे जब नाव से काठे दुकान मावजी की आए बैठे उनमें. So Mahamati Prananath arrives in Muscat Bandar, the port of Muscat. And in today's day, Muscat Bandar is located in the country Oman. So it is one of the Arabian countries today. So Mahamati Prananath arrives in Muscat and he finds Mavaji Bhai there. And Mavaji Bhai is from Gujarat as well, and Prananath is from Gujarat as well. So ita bado adar kiyo laukik naate se. So they find that they are closer to each other based on their origin and the place of their birth. Adar bhav karane lage khabar bandaki puchi in a samay, and Mahamati Prananath asked those in Mavaji Bhai's place about the state of those hostages, including Tejkumari, Rupa, Radha, and all that. So Vishwanath Sangatha Sri Baiji ki dai khabar Rupa Radha Sangati dhai ke punche gara. And one of the guys there, Vishwanath, said Mahamati Prananaji that Baiji Maharani or Tejkumari is safe so far, but she is not yet released. And Rupa and Radha were released and they were there. So Mavaji Bhai is there, and he allowed Mahamati Swami Sri Prananaji to stay with few of his disciples. And Mahamati Prananaji engages in discourse, in his divine discourse. And Mavaji Bhai offers all he can. He offers his services. मावजी हैं रसोई का आदर किया ही तो लगा आप सेवा करने हाल भाल न बखता काना जी बेटा उनका रहे दुकान पर आरोग्य के फेर बैठे साथ टटकी कही खबर. So the son of Mauji Bhai would be taking care of the business, taking care of the stuff. He would go to the business and then take care of the things. And Mauji Bhai started serving Prananaji and his disciples. So there are few Sundar Saji. Mahamati Prananaji engaged in the divine discourse. Braja, Ras, and Jaganis, the distinctions of Sri Krishna's Leelas and all that. And in the discourse, Rupa Bai and Radha Bai also come and they listen to the discourse of Prananaji, and having the divine sense of Prananaji's teachings, the divine revelations of Prananaji. Ita Rupa Bai Radha Suni Sarchaina Sri Raja ki tarafon Roshana hua manna, and their souls are awakened. Rupa and Radha Bai were initiated into Sri Krishna Pranami faith, and they enjoy the divine blessings, divine teachings of Mahamati Prananaji. And the discourse is so divine that everybody enjoys, everybody sits and listens to the discourse of Prananaji because it is so revealing, it is so captivating. And more people start coming, and then it becomes days for Mahamati Prananaji to engage in that discourse. Mahamati Prananaji, look at the life of Mahamati Prananaji. Baiji Maharani, Tejkumari is in the hostage of the Arabian looters, Arabian robbers. They are asking for the ransom worth thousands of rupees in Arabian currency. And Mahamati Prananaji does not have all that resources to pay his ransom to those people. Yet he is engaged in deeper discourse. He is having the divine pleasure. He is having the divine bliss in explaining the details of Raja, Ras, and Jagani, and he is so engaged in awakening Sundar Sats despite the challenge, despite the problems of awakening. यहाँ दीना दशबी समय भइजो चर्चा शोर दज्जाले हिता सुनिया लगा जो करने शोर. दज्जाल अपनी सिपाहा में निंदा लगे करने, ये कहाँ से आए हैं मेरे मारने का मन. And again, as Mahamati Prananaji is engaged in the discourse, there are enemies of Prananaji. There are those who are against the divine revelations of Prananaji. As people start going into Prananaji's discourse in dozens, in hundreds, the saints and sages of different other faiths are not happy about it. So they are ready to fight Prananaji off and then chase him away. But Mahamati Prananaji is blessed by the Lord Supreme himself. And as it is said, Balana Baka Karashaki Sabajagaveri Hoy. As long as there is a grace of the Lord Supreme, then no one can do anything against that individual, that divine devotee. So Mahamati Prananaji is continuously doing the discourse. And one evening, as he was going around seeing the town of Muscat Bandar, he saw people just running around, wandering around, doing their businesses and all that, and everyone struggling with their lives and the direction of their lives. The divine Bani was revealed through him. Rehu Dunya Vavari Khovata Janmagamar. As it is in the book, holy book of Kirantan Mahamati Prananaji, through Mahamati Prananaji, this divine Vani was revealed. So this Bani talks about people being forgetful of their true identity, and they're just running around here and there. And they've lived with so much ego in their mind that they do not listen to the pleas of the saints and sages in the religious scriptures of detaching themselves from the world. Reho duniya babari khobat janam gama. Reho duniya babari खोवत जन्म गमार मदमाती माया की छाकी मदमाती माया की छाकी सुनत नहीं पुकारी हो दुनिया बाबरी सत सप्त को कोई न छीने सुने हृदय नहीं समार सत सप्त को कोई न छीने सुने हृदय नहीं संभार समझे साध जो आपको देखे समझे साध जो आपको देखे आमे बड़ी अंधार हो दुनिया बाबरी खोवत जन्म गमार हो दुनिया बाबरी. The world is just running around. It's lunatics. It's crazy people. They are just running around purposeless, without goals. And Mahamati Prananath sees all that happening. And why do not they engage in their spiritual pursuit, in the pursuit of what their soul desires? Mahamati Prananath is surprised by the people and their purposeless headings. Mahamati Prananath says, until these people meet Satguru, their doubts would not be solved, their doubts would not be removed. And only when they find a true spiritual master, then all the scriptures, all the divine meanings of these scriptures would be unraveled to them, and they would understand the true nature of the world. या में सतगुरु मिले तो सन से भाने पड़ा दिखावे पार या में सतगुरु मिले तो सन से बहाने पड़ा दिखावे पार तब सकल शब्द को अर्थ उपजे सकल शब्द को अर्थ उपजे सब गम पड़े संसार हो दुनिया बाबरी खोवत जन्म गमार हो दुनिया बाबरी. These divine revelations come out of Mahamati Prananath ji. Reho duniya bavari, दुनिया को तू कहाँ पुकारी तू भूलना Mahamati. And few other chapters, few other verses, few other cantos were revealed through Mahamati Prananath ji and Muscat Bandar. So Mahamati Prananath ji sees all that happening. People engage in worldly affairs so much as if it is real and they're gonna live eternally. However, the reality is different. Mahamati Prananath ji is engaged in the divine discourse. And it so happened that Mahavaji Bhai is becoming more impatient as days pass by. He understands, he is happy that Mahamati Prananath ji is there doing his divine discourse, yet he is now beginning to worry about his business because he is not fully confident on his son and he is worried about the state of his business. How is the business going? And if Mahamati Prananath stays longer in the discourse, then I'm going to lose some money. So he begins to think about his business and his interest. And the discourse gradually fade away, gradually subside. Mahamati Prananath ji and few of his disciples are there. at the place of Maharaj Bhai. He is a big businessman. And one day, during the discourse, Mahamati Prananath criticizes those who are awakened, yet they care about the world, they care about their businesses. And Mahamati Prananath criticizes the Sundar Sats indirectly, Maharaj Bhai. इन चर्चा होते भया भाई माओजी का हित काम चर्चा मीठी लगी इनको दाखिल हुआ निजधाम इज अवेकन और भी केते का साथी आए पहुंचे इन ठोर श्री राज की चर्चा बिना सूझता नहीं हो रहा and all those awakened souls do not care anything but the discourse of Prananath. And as Mahamati Prananath realizes that Maharaj Bhai's attention is gradually subsiding and he is worried about his business, Mahamati Prananath criticizes Maharaj Bhai. एक दिन चर्चा में हुई खंडनी मावजी पर वाकिफ पूरा था न था साथ में अवगुण. Prananath is at my place. I'm serving him wholeheartedly. I'm taking care of all the Sundar Sats that are coming with Mahamati Prananath, and he's criticizing me. So, if that is the case, then I'm not going to his discourse. मैं न जाऊं न पे चर्चा सुनने मुझ पर करी खंडने क्या देखा अवगुण मुझमें. So he said, what's my mistake? I'm providing all the services, all the Sundar Satji, I'm taking care of them here in Muscat Bandar. And what mistake did I make? And he's criticizing me. So he stopped coming to the discourse of Mahamati Prananath. रिसाए कि आप अपने रह गया घर में. So he started staying at home. चर्चा समय न आई हुआ दिलगिर राज से. And he didn't come to the discourse because he was upset. जब सोया रात को अपनी दुकान में, as he slept on his shop at the night, रातें मारा तमाचा राजा ने हुई दहशत जोरे इनको. In his dream, the Raji Maharaj slapped him really hard. The Raji Maharaj himself. And Raji Maharaj asked him, क्यों रीसा करी इनसु? Why are you upset with him? क्यों न दिए तुम का? Why don't you listen to him? तू जा फिर उतई. Why don't you go to his discourse? And realize that Lord Supreme himself is there to awaken yourself. Why don't you realize that? So, as Raji Maharaj slapped him, he awoke and went knocking the door of Mahamati Prananath. जागे पीछे रोइया प्रात बैठा आए द्वारा जगाए श्री जी को करने लगा मनोहर. And he begged for Prananath's apologies. He told Prananath about what happened the night before. He said, मैं खंडनी सुन के हो गया बेजार. मैं तो कच्चा साथ में ना पहचाना परवरदिगार. I was not fully awakened, His Lordship in Prananath. I was not fully awakened. मैं तो कच्चा साथ में. I was raw. My soul was not fully enlightened as such. When you criticized me a little bit, for my own good, for the awakening of my soul, for me to realize the eternal glory of Paramdham, I could not recognize you nor your glory. So please forgive me, says Maharaj Bhai, crying, begging for Prananath's mercy. यहाँ से चर्चा मिने भया पकब प्रवीण चरता सुनते सुनते बड़ा भया. As Mahamati Prananath forgives him, he continues to listen to the discourse. And in Muscat Bandar, a lot of Sundar Satji are awakened. A lot of. So Lal Dasi again gives the name of those Sundar Sats that were awakened in Muscat Bandar. So again in Muscat Bandar, there are the enemies. There are those who are against the revelations of Mahamati Prananath. And it so happened that Mahamati Prananath found out that A businessman, a successful businessman in Abbasi Bandar named Bhairav Seth had released Baiji Maharani or Tej Kumbari. Paying the ransom is asked by those kidnapping her, and Mahamati Prananath was invited into Abbasi Bandar. So Mahamati Prananath goes to Abbasi Bandar and meets Bhairav Seth. भाई मुलाकात भैरों से श्री जी साहेब जी सो जब अपने घरों ले गया खिदमत करने लगा तब. So Baiji Maharani was in the hostage of these Arabians for more than a year, almost a year. And Mahamati Prananath has reached Abbasi Bandar. She came for the divine darshan of Mahamati Prananath and started shedding tears. Mahamati Prananath was allocated a beautiful mansion at the garden of Bhairav Seth because he was very successful and he was a wealthy businessman. There are a lot of Sundar Sats with Mahamati Prananath coming from different parts of the country. And Mahamati Prananath is engaged in the discourse again, awakening Sundar Sats left and right. So in Abbasi Bandar, Bhairav Seth, as successful as he is not awakened by the transcendent understanding of Tarthamit. He doesn't know anything about spiritual pursuits and spiritual practices. But as someone is coming from India, from his home country, Bhairav Seth is willing to listen to the discourse. And he enjoys the discourse very much. And in Abbasi Bandar, a lot of women come to the discourse of Mahamati Prananath as well, and they become his disciples. And the number of women listening to his discourse is often greater than those male listeners. And the discourse Mahamati Prananath gives, Bhairav Seth truly cherishes the discourse on Braja, Ras, the attributes of the consorts and things of that nature, the revelations of Bhagavad Gita, the revelations of Bhagavatam and all that, truly gets the attention of Bhairav Seth. But Mahamati Prananath realizes that he is not yet awakened. What is happening? So Mahamati Prananath thinks for a moment. तब भैरव ठक्करे ने बचर आजीजी जे कहे तुम मेहर करी मुझ पर जो सुना बने के तुम भय. Mahamati Prananath asked Bhairav Seth one day, you released Baiji Maharani, Tej Kumbari, paying so much in ransom. You have done stay. You and your family is serving me so well along with all the Sundar Sats. But it so happens that I'm not being able to serve you as much. I want to give you something, but I don't know what. So can you please help me with that? Then Bhairav Seth tells Mahamati Prananath, oh Guruji, oh spiritual master, you have done so much more than I have done for you. You've been giving the discourse. A lot of people are enjoying your teachings and your discussions and discourses. So there is nothing that you could do more than what you have already done. Mahamati Prananath is not happy with the state Bhairav Seth is in, because it's been more than 15 days where Bhairav Seth's soul is not awakened. And Bhairav Seth is a chain smoker. He smokes hookah right in front of Mahamati Prananath. While the discourse is happening, he takes the hookah on his mouth and smokes. Mahamati Prananath realizes that it is probably because of his food habits that his soul is not awakened. So one day Mahamati Prananath says, एक महीना की मुद्दत इत मुझ आगे करो तुम, ज्यों होवे चरण प्राप्त तुमको कहे सुनावे हम. Hey, Vairav said, give me a month's time. And in these months, do as I say. And if you do that, if you do as I say, I promise you would have the divine vision of the Lord Supreme. And Mahamati Prananath prohibited Vairav said from few things. And if you do this, तो तुमको होए प्राप्त पाओ सुख नित, so you would have the divine vision of Lord Supreme, and you would realize the eternal glory of Paramdham within you. Give me a month's time. And further, what you have to do, says Mahamati Prananath, पीना तमाकू छोड़ दो और मांग मछली सब, शराब और सब कई करदारा चोरी न कर. So Mahamati Prananath is prohibited the followers of Chintamani and his followers of four things. Here Mahamati Prananath asked Vairav Seth to not consume or not do five things. First, Pina Tamaku Chorado. Mahamati Prananath prohibited Vairav Seth against smoking. Smoking hookah, smoking Mahamati Prananath prohibited was the intake of non-vegetarian diet. So he says, you gotta be vegetarian. Sarab. So the third thing he said, sarab, alcohol intake. So you are not going to take alcohol any longer. And the fourth thing is all the intoxicating materials. And fifth thing, against extramarital relationships. So these five things were prohibited for Vairav Seth, and Mahamati Prananath promised, if you avoid these five things, in a month's time, you would realize the glory of Rasyamaji in you. His wife and his family members were not happy with these prohibitions, because they thought that if he stopped eating meat, he would be weak. He had so much business to take care of. So they were against this prohibition of Mahamati Prananath, but Vairav Seth was ready to take a chance. And Mahamati Prananath said, if your soul is not awakened in a month's time, if you do not have a divine vision within a month's time, then I will let you do whatever you would want. I would not again ask for being vegetarian. I would not ask you to not do smoking or any other things that I have prohibited. So Mahamati Prananath, as he said that you will have a divine glimpse of the Lord Supreme in a month's time if you avoid these five things. Vairav Seth was ready to take a chance. He said, of course, I would be willing to do that. If I have a divine vision of the Lord Supreme, then for a month, it won't be a big deal. I can do that for years if that would happen. But if you say it only takes about a month, I'm ready to take a chance. यह सुख न सुन भैरव ने कहा, यह बात है सहेला, ये अवश्य मुँह को करना, ये छोड़ दे दज्जाल है. So as soon as Mahamati Prananath said that, and he promised, he said, I would definitely do that. If I can awaken my soul with this much effort, तो और क्या चाहिए हमको कह दिखाओ तुम. What else would I do? I'm definitely ready for it. उस वक्त आगे हुक्का था, सो दिया तुरंत फोड़. So he had a hookah right in front of him, and he broke it into pieces. उदक धराया चार वस्तु का, दई श्रवणा आत्मजोर. And he kept the promises of not doing those four other things that Mahamati Prananath asked him to do. रसोई मिने मने भय मांस मछली करो जिन कोय हमारी रसोई जुदी करो हो गया विरक्ता सोए. And he asked his wife and his family members, those taking care of his meal, to not cook anything, no meat items, only vegetarian diets, and have a separate kitchen for me where the food is cooked for me, have it separated. So no meat intake. I do not want any meat for a month. Happy with what he said. कौन आया हमारे घरों, कौन परहेज कराए? And they were not happy with Mahamati Prananath. Who is this? Who is this saint? Who is this sadhu who is asking our husband, our father to avoid all these things? Why is he doing it? इनका पिंड तो इनसे था इन पर गुजराना, ताको क्यों छुड़ा बत सुकन कहे बिना पहचाना. भैरव शेठ खिज कर कहा, लिया परहेज में कोई दिना, फिर परहेज फिर तोड़ूंगा, जो दाखिल न हो. And he strictly told his wife and his kids and those preparing meal for him, this is what I'm going to do. For a month, do as I say. If I would not be awakened, if I'm not included in the family of moments of Sundar Shas, if I didn't realize the consort in me, then I would break this rule, break this fast of not eating meat. After that, I'll do as I say, but for a month, do as I say. यूं दृढ़ाव करके चर्चा लगे सुनने, तीसरे दिन के सुनते कहे वचन उनका अपने. So, with that promise, with that resolution in mind, he started listening to the discourse. In the Vedic scriptures, in the Vedas and Vedic scriptures, the glory of diet is explained in very detailed way. It talks about sattvic bhojan, the pure meal that does not excite our mind, that does not destabilize our mind. So sattvic bhojan is promoted in Vedic scriptures. And it is said that Jaisa khai anna vaisha hove manna, jaise piye pani vaishe bole bani. The food that you eat is what you become. So if you eat non-vegetarian diet, you have the disposition as such. So let me give you a story of one of the great sages, Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, one of the Vedic scholars, Vedic saint. So he came to the United States in 1893, and then he gave a speech in the World Religion of Congress in Chicago in 1893. And it is said that when he spoke a sentence in that conference, all the participants stood and clapped for more than 7 minutes when he stated 7 words. He used his first sentence. More than few thousand participants were there in Chicago to promote the view of religious harmony, interfaith studies, and things of that nature, because the world was witnessing the infightings between faiths. And he was there in Chicago, unprepared. He did not have the written speech. It just came out spontaneously from him. And when he said, "My brothers and sisters of America," that is all he said. And for 7 minutes, all the participants stood and clapped for him. Because normally in our speeches, we say, "Ladies and gentlemen," but the respect is sour to all the participants. And the relationship he established with them through his words, brothers and sisters of America. That saint one day, upon returning to India from US, his sister called him for dinner, and he went for the dinner. And while she was preparing the food, she thought of her husband, and she saw her brother on the other side, and she felt that I wish I had a husband like him, like my brother. He's so calm. He's in such a peace. He doesn't curse anyone. He does not criticize anyone. He's so humble. He's so respectful. I wish my husband was like that. My husband is always critical of me, the food I cook, my beauty, and things of that nature. He's always critical of me. He's not respectful of what I do. He thinks highly of himself and lowly of myself. I wish I had a husband like him. As the food was prepared and she was serving all those dishes to him, Vivekananda, as he started eating the meal, it came to his mind that if I had a wife like her, and every time I come home from my discourse or my religious practice, I get to eat warm food, delicious food, I could be happier than what I am right now. As such thoughts began circling around the minds of Vivekananda, he called upon his sister and he asked her, "Oh sister, be honest with me. I just wanted to ask you a question. What were you thinking while you were cooking the food today, this evening?" She was wondering, why does it matter? She initially hesitated, but as Vivekananda insisted, she said, I was hoping, I was wishing if I could have a husband like you, a respectful man, a humble man who would always take care of his wife. And Vivekananda realized then and there, right away, that it was because of her disposition, her feeling while she was cooking. He was having the thoughts of having a wife, someone like her. So Vivekananda said, that is the reason why these thoughts are coming in my mind. As you all might be aware of the fact that Vivekananda was a renunciate. He renounced everything in the service of his spiritual master and in the pursuit of God. He never got married, and it was never his intention to get married. And when such thoughts came, he realized that it was because he was cooking with such thoughts in mind. Dear Sundar Saji, the feeling matters, the disposition matters. As such, we say that when you are preparing food for Raji Maharaj, when you are serving Raji Maharaj, your heart should be as pure as that of the consort. We should not think about others when we cook. We should keep Raji Maharaj in mind and cook. And when you do, the food becomes delicious naturally, and the disposition that you put into the pure soul, as if Raji Maharaj is consuming that food that you're preparing. Then you get closer, a bit closer to Raji Maharaj. So your bhav, your disposition should always be connected to Raji Maharaj. So as Vairav said, stopped consuming meat. He stopped his smoking. And the third day, he said, यूं दृढ़ाव करके चर्चा लगे सुनने, तीसरे दिन की सुनते कहे बचन मुका अपने. On the third day of listening to Mahamati Prananath's discourse, after leaving all the things Mahamati Prananath prohibited from, then he said, मैं जन्म भर को छोड़िया ये चारों वस्तु निषेध. I've renounced these four things. He had already broken that hookah into pieces. So he said, these four things I have left for my life. मैं जन्म भर को छोड़िया ये चारों वस्तु निषेध वस्तु भई मोहि प्राप्त पाया माया माहि वेद. The thing that I was looking for, the glory of Paramdham, the realization of the Brahma, the self-realization that I was waiting for, I found it. And I've realized the true nature of this world, Maya Mahi Veda. Dear Sundar Saji, it just took him 3 days to realize Brahma. His Mahamati Prananath asked for a month's time. It was the glory of Raji Maharaj. That is why Mahamati Prananath says, Kripa Karani Mafaka. So the glory of the Lord Supreme, the glory of the Lord Supreme falls upon those whose karma, whose actions are pure. The grace of Lord Supreme is based on our karma. As our karma becomes pure, the glory of Rasyamaji increases upon us. Kripa Mafaka Karani, Kripa Karani Mafaka. Kripa Karani Mafaka, Kripa Mafaka Karani. In our karma changes according to the grace of Sri Rasyamaji, they both go hand in hand. Grace and our karma. Grace falls upon us when our karma gets uplifted and our karma gets better, as Raji Maharaj Savar says, grace upon us, and they go both hand in hand. So here Vairav Seth realizes the glory of Paramdham, and the third day he renounced everything. And he said, I do not want these things for my life anymore. Dear Sundar Saji, it was the grace of Raji Maharaj. And he was the soul of Paramdham as such. He could realize his true essence. The self-realization came to him in the third day. यह आया यूं साथ में बड़ा पड़ा शहर में शोर तब दज्जाल लगा पुकारने बड़ा किया जो शोर. He was initiated into the faith, and as Vairav Seth, a successful businessman, became a disciple of Mahamati Prananath, it became a huge news in Abbasi Bandar. And in Mahamati Prananath's discourse, a lot of women started coming. And their husbands who did not have the spirit of Paramdham, they came complaining, and they asked their wives, why do you come to the discourse of this saint every day? You're not cooking food for us, you are not taking care of us, and all that, and you are here at the discourse. What is wrong with you? And they say that we are here to feed our soul. We are married to you, but we also have to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of our soul and His please. So when they come complaining to Prananath, the wives, the disciples, the listeners of Mahamati Prananath's discourse defend their actions. Mahamati Prananath is truly happy with the growth in numbers. As a lot of souls are awakened in Abbasi Bandar, Mahamati Prananath realizes that it's about time that he leaves Abbasi Bandar, as he promised to Satguru Maharaj that he was to awaken the two leading souls of Paramdham, Sakundal and Sakumar. So he needs to get out of that town. And he asked Vairav Seth to let him go in awakening other Sundar Sats in different towns. But Vairav Seth is not happy. He doesn't want to let his spiritual master go, Prananath go. वो साथ तरफ बढ़ते चला और नयो साथ आवत ही सो करत ही हेत रमन ब्रज रास को सुबानी भली बात सुन लेता. So a lot of Sundar Sats come, a lot of people are awakened in Abbasi Bandar. And Mahamati Prananaji is a little impatient now that if he stays there any longer, then he won't probably able to go and find two leading souls, Sakundal and Sakumar Sakhi. श्रीजी ने बिचारियां जो कदी बरस रहे बेक तो साथ आवेश न हो सो एक से हुए अनेक. He knows that if he stays there few more years or a couple more years in Abbasi Bandar, there would be many more Sundarsats coming to him, many more souls would be awakened. But बात बड़ी है करनी आवे शाकुंडल साकुमारा विस्तार हुए ब्रह्मांड में जाको वार न पार. But I have a bigger thing to do. I have a bigger task at hand, that is to awaken Sakundal and Sakumar. हम एक ही बंदर अटके क्या राज करना है था. But if I stay at one place and have hundreds of disciples, that won't be good. ये तो हमें ना छोड़ता आज ही ना बखता. But what to do? These people won't let me go. So यह विचार नीता करे देखे तरफ श्री राज. So he asked for Raj's guidance. And he asked for a way out of Abbasi Bandar, and in the same time Mahamati Prananaji is guided. Mahamati Prananaji is on the path. And the ruler of Abbasi Bandar said he would increase the tax on the residents of Abbasi Bandar, and if they have more people with them and their family, then the tax rate would increase. As Vaidam Shet has so many people at his home, at his place, a lot of Sundarsats, including Mahamati Prananaji. He had to let Mahamati Prananaji go. He was upset. But he was also aware of the fact that Prananaji wanted to leave, and he had to let him go. So he gave what he could to Prananaji, and Prananaji left Abbasi Bandar. And Mahamati Prananaji campaign of awakening continues from Nalia and beyond. In the discourse on Wednesday, we'll talk about the Beetak of Nalia and Surat and the awakening of other souls. The establishment of Sripas Mahamangalpuri Dham, the second pilgrimage site of Sri Krishna Pranami faith, one of the most holy places for the followers of Sri Krishna Pranami faith, Sripas Mahamangalpuri Dham, which is also known as the Jagani Peeth.